So let me just play this one melody for you and just try to see how you feel the rhythm and the pulse of it. Now I'm going to bring in the beat containing like drums, a bass line and a little pad, and just see if you still feel the same way about the pulse. And in the first moment it might feel a bit like, oh, what's happening, and it's a bit shaky, and where's the one and where am I? But this feeling is something that can create a lot of excitement also for the listener, because all of a sudden you create some element of surprise. And in this video I want to show you how this kind of rhythm trick works, and most importantly how you can set it up for yourself so you can use it inside your own music. And before we start, let me quickly say hi. So my name is 𝗧𝗛𝗏 and my channel is all about making and creating music and basically having more fun doing it. So in case you enjoy this video, you're already warmly invited to later check out the other videos that you can find on my channel. So the trick here is to create a melody that on its own sounds like it's in a particular pulse or time signature, and the listener thinks like, ah, okay, it's going to go this way. But then we create some surprise by actually using another groove that still is somehow in relation to the melody, but just not the first thing you think of when you hear this melody. So first we set up a drum beat that is actually in the time signature that is real. So it's not the kind of ghost time signature we use for the melody, but the drum beat actually carries the real time signature. And let's make it very simple. So we put like a kick drum on all quarter notes, snare on 2 and 4, and maybe a little hi-hat on the offbeats, and some hi-hats with the lower velocity on all 16th note positions, because I always feel like this way the beat sounds a little smoother. So in the end we have something like this. Next we create the melody that carries this rhythmic trick, which is about to fool our imaginatory listener. And we're also going to start with just making a one-note melody, because the most important thing here is to understand the space between the notes. And with a beat like this, the most simple to use grid would be some 16th note grid, which is also the type of grid we have here. And now the number one rule is that there has to be the same space between all your notes. And of course, if you start like this, there would be the same space between all notes, but then we're exactly in the time signature or in the kind of feel we have. So we have to come up with something else. And the next step would be to just, instead of leaving one position free, to leave 2 positions free. So in the end we come up with something like this, and we just adjust the length of the clip so it loops in a way that all the time there are like 2 free slots and 1 slot that actually triggers the note. And now if we play it together, you can hear that we have the kind of dotted 8th note thing that creates some syncopation and polyrhythmic vibe, which sounds logical if you listen to the drums and this part at the same time. But if you start your music with just listening to this melody, it's a bit different. Because if this just keeps repeating, it just sounds like a solid pulse. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this comes through the same space that is between all those notes. And now you kind of quickly forget about this drum beat unless you actually bring it back and resolve this whole mystery. And it's always some nice sensation when this real beat or real groove comes in. And now you can, with your 4 notes, create actually some little melody. So maybe move 1 note to a G and 1 note to, let's say, C, and make this. And this makes the effect even stronger, because while with the 1-note melody, I mean, it's just the same note all the time, so because we're used to hearing stuff in 4/4, we kind of think of it this way. But if you also create some melodic movement that clearly gets repeated all 4 steps, so there's like a 4-step melody or a 4-step sequence, it's even easier to fall for this rhythmic trick. So if we play it now, and let's again bring in the drums after a while. And these are the basics in a nutshell, but I also want to give you some more examples on where you can go and to kind of find some even funkier figures that you can work with. So the next position we could try would to leave 3 positions free, but then we're again in this kind of 4/4 pulse, so we have to use 5. And this is already going to sound quite advanced. And you have to always make sure that there's enough space in between. Oh, this one I actually messed up. Let me quickly do this. So now we have a slower melody, at least it sounds like a slower melody. And let's just listen to it and fool ourselves into thinking this is like a 4/4 type melody until I bring back in the drums. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Whoa! Such a cool effect. Another fun thing you can try is using triplets, and you can use some arpeggiator, at least if it gives you the option of have 12 notes per bar, which the Ableton arpeggiator gives you, and that's what I use here. Then you have to make sure to have 4 different notes and just program them as a chord for the whole bar. But so it's like 4 times 3 notes per quarter note. It perfectly resolves and we get this kind of line. Again, kind of a mysterious vibe. We hear it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And let's see what happens with the beat. Also cool. This goes closely into the direction of 12/8 type beats, which is one of the most fun thing to explore when making beats or playing drums or generally creating music, and I highly encourage you to also take a look at that. I'm going to link you one video in the end of this one where I speak about it, but for now there's one more thing I also want to show you here. So while I said that it's important that you have a sequence of 4 notes, you can also use other amounts of notes. It just sounds like some different time signature again. So let's say we have a sequence of 7 notes, but again, it's really important that we have the same space in between. And let's go back to having 2 free slots in between. Otherwise it's going to get too long. And so here we have 4 notes and we just have to add 3 more. I quickly do it. So now here we have a sequence of 7 notes, and if we listen to it on its own, it just sounds like some 7/4 or 7/8 type bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But then we again bring in our beat. And if you're really into funky or crazy stuff, I highly recommend just doubling the speed of your sequence. So here, for example, you can divide it by 2, and now it's twice as fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, or we can count half time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's see what happens if we bring in the beat. I mean, this is already really advanced and a bit crazy, but I also like it. And it's also good to know that you don't always have to use this as this rhythmic trick to fool your listener. You can generally just use it as a compositional tool. So for creating sequences, for example, it's very good to know that you can create excitement by having those different layers of rhythms. And instead of having the static feel of everything's in the same kind of rhythmic subdivision, having one that actually sounds a bit like it's another tempo on top of another one is just super, super great for breaking the static character of sequences, especially in electronic music. And I have some other video about making sequences more interesting that kind of catches up on things I mentioned here, and I'll link it here. You're warmly invited to watch it. Here's the one about the 12/8 time signature that you're also warmly invited to watch. And apart from that, I wish you lots of inspiration with whatever it is that you create and hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye.